Hi everyone, this is Dr. Sarala. Welcome to Millet Magic. Akki Rotti, which translates to rice roti, is a famous dish of Karnataka which is usually made with paddy rice flour. Since we are going to be making it with millet, that is siridhanya flour, I'd like to call it SIRI Akki Rotti. It is very similar to the Thalipit of Maharashtra, the only difference being a single flour is used instead of mixing several flours. So this dish is basically a millet vegetable roti packed with flavors. Many people in the initial days may be finding it difficult to make rotis from millet flour. This is because millets are gluten-free and lack the sticky protein which binds the dough together. The best part about this dish is that you will easily be able to make rotis which do not break, and we aren't even using any extra binding agents. It's one of my husband's favorite millet breakfast dish, and I'm sure it's going to be one of yours too. So let's begin. You will need 2 medium-sized onions finely chopped, 2 medium-sized carrots finely grated, half of a big cucumber cut into fine pieces, around 6 to 8 green chilies finely chopped, and about 2 fistfuls of finely chopped dill weed. Dill weed, which is called sabaski soppu or sabsige soppu in Kannada, and soy kura in Telugu, or soa bhaji in Hindi, is a green which is not frequently used or given the importance that it deserves. It not only adds a punch of flavor to the dish it's used in, but also gives you a good dose of folate, vitamin A and vitamin C. It's good for your eyes, it's good for your heart. It improves digestion and is good for your skin. It's especially good for lactating mothers since it improves the quality and quantity of breast milk. And most importantly, it goes very well in this specific recipe. If dill weed is not available, then you can use methi leaves instead. Methi leaves give their own flavor and have their own health benefits too. And you can add in half a cup of freshly grated coconut. Though coconut is not a must to make SIRI Akki Rotti, adding it gives extra flavor and texture to the roti. And of course, we require about 8 to 10 tablespoons of millet flour. For this specific recipe, I prefer to use either foxtail flour or brown top millet flour, since the rotis will then turn out crispier, and that's just the way I like it. Now there are 2 options when it comes to using millet flour. You can either pre-soak the millet, sun dry it well, and then make a flour out of it. But when made in this way, the flour tends to get infested with insects sooner. So if you're making flour in this way, it is advisable to make smaller quantities which you will require for about 2 to 3 weeks. The second option is to directly make flour from the millets, and in this way it can be stored for a longer period. And when using this kind of flour, you will need to ensure that it is soaked by resting the batter or the dough for at least 2 hours. Once you have the vegetables cut and ready, more than half of the procedure is already done. Into a huge bowl, add in the finely chopped cucumber and the finely chopped onions, the grated carrot, the finely chopped dill weed, the finely cut green chilies, and the grated coconut. To ensure that the salt gets evenly distributed, I have dissolved unrefined sea salt, which is in the rock form, into very little water, and I'm going to use this solution. And that's a small tip for those who are finding it difficult to use unrefined sea salt, since it's not easy to make it into a fine powder. You can make it into a concentrated solution and use it conveniently. Now mix everything well together and allow it to rest for 5 to 10 minutes. During this time, since we have already added in the salt, the vegetables, especially the cucumber and the onion, are going to release a lot of moisture, and most often this moisture itself will be sufficient to form the dough. So now start adding in the millet flour little by little and mix it well with your hand. Add just enough flour to bind all the vegetables together. More vegetables, less flour gives a crispier and tastier roti. If you're using millet flour which has not been made from pre-soaked millets, then you'll need to rest the dough for 2 hours. In that case, make sure that you do not add any extra water, as the vegetables will continue to release moisture in the resting period as well. If you don't need to rest the dough and are feeling that the vegetables have not given out enough moisture, you can sprinkle a little water to form the dough. Another important requirement to make good Siri Akki Rotti is the right kind of tawa. Of course, we want to avoid non-stick and use an iron tawa, and it needs to be well seasoned. Also, we require a tawa which has a handle and one which is not too heavy, so that you can easily lift the tawa between making 2 Siri Akki Rottis. Smear the tawa with some cooking oil. And take a portion of the prepared dough. You can see that we require quite a big sized ball of dough. The mentioned quantities can make about 6 Siri Akki Rottis and serves 2. Now place the dough directly on the tawa and using your fingers gently push out the dough to spread it out evenly on the tawa. Another method would be to make the akki rottis on a banana leaf and then gently transfer it onto a hot tawa. But personally, I prefer this method much more because it gives thinner, crispier and golden brown Siri Akki Rottis with a much better taste and texture. It's a general practice to make a hole or a few smaller ones in the center of the roti. This is to ensure that the center of the roti does not burn while the rest of the roti is still undercooked, since the flame is usually the highest at the center. The dough needs to be spread as evenly as possible, and as you see here, nice and thin. Also, adding a little bit of oil in this hole helps the roti to cook better and makes it crispier. Place the tawa on the stove and allow the Siri Akki Rotti to cook on a medium flame with a covered lid. The lid is to ensure that the upper surface does not dry out. After about 1 minute, remove the lid and holding the handle of the tawa in one hand, gently loosen the edges of the roti. Then carefully flip it over and allow the upper surface to cook for about half a minute. You can see here the golden color and the crispy texture of the Siri Akki Rotti, which I have been mentioning, and that is what makes this roti super delicious. Before proceeding to make the next roti, it is crucial that you completely cool the hot tawa. The best way to do this is to place the bottom of the tawa under running cold water. This is the reason I specified that the tawa needs to have a handle. You'll need to be a little careful while doing this. You can then go ahead to make the next Siri Akki Rotti. If the tawa hasn't cooled properly, it becomes difficult to spread the dough as it sticks to the hot surface immediately. If you have a big family, it would be quicker and more convenient to use 2 tawas. If you prefer your roti to be soft, you can do so by making the roti a little thicker. In that case, you will need to cook it on a low flame for a longer duration so that it cooks well. Since the Siri Akki Rotti is so tasty in itself, you can eat it as such or serve it with any chutney of your choice. Traditionally, Akki Rotti is served with uchil chutney, that is Niger seed chutney or Niger seed chutney pudi, along with butter, ghee or curd. But today, I am going to use a drizzle of Niger seed oil, which is very healthy and very tasty. It makes for a good replacement for ghee. So do try out this easy millet vegetable roti, Siri Akki Rotti. We'll be back soon with another interesting millet recipe. Until then, happy cooking!